We're very fortunate to have Darryl Clayton with us. Darryl is a baker by trade, but has become mostly one of the best entrepreneurs that I've met in my time, and I've been very fortunate to have worked with him. So we're going to ask him a few questions of how he got to where he is, but mainly where he sees things going forward and how he sees business. And so Darryl, just to start with, could I just ask you how you made the transition from New Zealand to South Africa, and just a little bit how you got from a baker to being where you are now?
Yeah, okay. Thanks for having me on. I'm not so fortunate to be here because we're all stuck where we are, so it's actually quite easy to get people online. I came from New Zealand. I travelled around the world in baking consulting for a corporate company. And South Africa was one of the last countries I managed to come to see if we could set up business. Traditionally had been a hard country to break into, but you had just come out of the apartheid regime, so it was 95 when I first came here. I did time my first trip in 1995 to land on the day of the All Blacks running across England in the semi-final of the World Cup. Stayed here for 3 weeks, so I got a ticket to the final. It was incredible. So you can imagine my view of South Africa was parties, braais, celebrating happiness and everything. So it was easy to see South Africa as a nice country. And it was one of the most similar to New Zealand, the culture and the rugby, etc. So the idea was that maybe we would come here. But what made it worthwhile to me as far as business? Most of South Africa had been held back in the apartheid days, so you were back in time. The rest of the world had moved on, and technology, particularly in the field of food and baking, had not grown in 20 years in South Africa. So although you had good equipment, the types of food you were eating, you had an 800-gram heavy government loaf, and you had a seed loaf to go with it. You didn't have fancy bread. You didn't have soft, fluffy breads and varieties that you've got today. But we had those in 1995. So if you ever could wish you could go into the future and see what it looks like and then start working on that today, that was my opportunity. I literally set up an office in South Africa and started producing the breads for the next 20 years. The breads you're eating today, I presented 20 years ago, 30, 25 years ago in South Africa. And we're still getting down the track of finishing off some of those bread types and changes. So yeah, I knew the future. So it made it very easy for me, and it made it easy to do business in that field for me and consult or sell technology, enzymes and emulsifiers.
And did you find that the South African environment was quite conducive to entrepreneurship and starting businesses and that?
Well, at first, it's funny. At first, it wasn't so easy for me because people who didn't know what I knew didn't think there was that future. So there was always a bit of hesitancy that, no, we don't need this. We've got what we want. We're not going to change. I remember one director of one of the groups in South Africa, one of the big groups in food, he said to me while I was in discussion with McDonald's, well, I don't know if we'll do this because South Africans won't eat these little burgers. We're big burger people and we're big meat. We won't eat those big burgers. And I said to them, I'm sorry, it's not up to you. It's up to your children. And they're going to eat it and it will be successful. And that's the sort of thing. If you don't know what you don't know, it made it difficult to break in. Okay. However, when I went to the doors of the bakery groups and food groups and I asked the secretaries to get me an appointment or tell the general managers that I was there, I would get back, no, they're busy. So I would say, please go and tell them that I'm a Kiwi. And every one of them invited me in because they wanted to give me a bit of stick about the World Cup in 95. So being a Kiwi and losing that game was beneficial to my business. So I managed to talk to everybody. They didn't mind then.
So now you can pick up the game, yeah, because we got our third one. Yeah. Darryl, just I've worked with you in the past, and where my background is, and a lot of people that I work with, we're all small entrepreneurs or small business owners. A lot of us are freelancers, And I think I was actually listening to a Jordan Peterson speech the other day, and he was saying that creators make good entrepreneurs, but also come with possibly a downside to it, in that they possibly also go off on a tangent. And so is there any advice that you could just give before we start talking about COVID-19 and all that and the current situation to us small business owners, us our freelancers, on things that we should be aware of in building our businesses or getting new business or trying to get going as an entrepreneur?
You're in a environment, and there are many similar who rely on your earnings per project, per job, and you don't have a great deal of annuity income. Now, if you were, Malcolm, in your case, I know you've produced a few books with people on photography and on cooking. Well, to generate that type of income, where there's a bit of annuity income that will come over the following months or years if book sales or something like that, you have to look at within your fields, what are the opportunities where there can be any annuity income, and treat those different. They are those, they might be on the side of your main business, but don't dismiss them as difficult or not enough time. Those you need in times like now. Yeah. They are there to give that little bit of saviour to the business. But it certainly comes in a similar scenario, and I'm saying this a lot as a business advisor. Everybody knows it, and that's cash flow. Your industry is one that can't afford to run close to the line. That money under the pillow is an essential part of your business. It's not a luxury; it's part of your business, and you must have that. You must have enough to get by for a couple of months in any circumstances. Now, you don't need COVID-19. A recession, as soon as a recession happens, people pull marketing money. I know, I'm one of those guys that does that. So you need to understand that and make sure that your industry is covered that way. And maybe, I'm not quite sure how insurance can work in your industry as well, but you need to make sure you cover for those.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of guys, funny enough, a lot of people that I know actually don't cover them in self-insurance and rather work on a system of we'll pay in and then when trouble comes along and we'll try and sort it out that time, which I know is very awkward. And also to get the cost of an insurance to cover you if for something goes down or if you get ill or something is prohibitive for a lot of us. And I think mainly part of that is because we work on time. And there are so many hours in the day, and you can't make more. So that's why I think that point of yours of an annuity income is so vital. And in South Africa, unfortunately, we also have a law that is very different to the rest of the world, where the commissioner of the work actually owns the copyright, not the author. And so it means that, if I did a job for a European company and they used it for a second year or in different media, we'd get paid again. And a lot of annuity income comes like that. Whereas in South Africa, we don't get that. So we lose that, which is a bit of a tough one. So even more reason to, as you say, the books or finding something else as an alternative income is so important. I think, Darryl, moving on to the COVID-19, and I know you've been working with quite a lot of businesses and big businesses and directors and that. Do you see there's going to be a major shift in the way business has been done? What is the talk out there at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. There is. There is no coming back from where we were and how we used to operate. And there's a couple of factors there. Take away the factor of what COVID-19 has done for the moment as far as your revenues and ability to earn and keep staff. Put that to the side. Just under normal circumstances, everybody's globally has been locked down basically for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. And whilst you've been locked down, the amount of people cooking at home, baking at home would have increased 1,000-fold. The people talking to friends and downloading Zoom or Party Line or or any of those chat rooms has increased by thousands. And because you have been doing it over 3 weeks, the synapses in your brain have changed. It's not something you do for the weekend because you have to and you go back and you say, oh, I don't want to do that. That was too difficult. You actually become used to it. Your brain adapts to it and it becomes a norm for you. So when you go back to work, you cannot be the same. No one can. So you will think of a different way to operate. Now, in one forum of 45 executives that I'm on every Tuesday, when we're asked a question about what they see afterwards, what will you do regarding travel? No, we won't travel nearly as much. Our staff won't travel. We'll be doing Zoom a lot more than we used to do. Now, the implications of just that simple answer, airlines, that travel's down. Hotel is down. Food hotels down. All the ramifications go along, change all those industries along with that simple change. And that's one change. Now, there's many changes that the businesses say they're going to do and how they're going to operate as their own team and with customers. The customer interactions have been reported by sales managers have been that the discussion has been more directed, more to the agendas, more to get answers and facts than the face-to-face meetings have been. They're getting more out of it. They want to get it. They don't mind the Zoom, but they don't want to sit back and chat and have a cup of coffee and decide when to talk. They don't have the luxury of people walking in and interrupting. You get it done. You get what you need out of it, and then you close down. So it's actually more efficient in time as well. So if you save time, you actually save staff hours. Do you need all the staff? So again, the ramifications get wider and wider. So the world is changing, and it's not going to go back exactly the same way it has. And so we must be prepared for that. And therein lies the opportunity.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. So, you're talking about a lot of people losing jobs, airlines going through a difficult stage, hotels and that, but there must be an upside to it as well. Where do you see those?
Okay, Malcolm, instead of using what could happen, I'll give you a real example. In the last 3 weeks, I have made small video clips of baking. Now, you know that my base of everything is I'm a baker by trade. So I still do a lot of baking, test baking, a lot of baking at home. And friends and friends of friends have been sending messages through, what do I do now? How can I substitute this for that? Can this work? And I've been sending answers, and I even sent a video of how to make a prover out of a sink and how to make hot cross buns. So that there is the opportunity. I'm doing it to help people, but that is going to be a new norm. So the very short video clip searches you're going to get on the internet, how to roll dough, they're going to increase now because people are now used to using the internet, used to searching for that. For 3 weeks, they've been searching different things to do at home. Their synapses have changed. They now accept that as a norm. They won't hesitate to do that again. Whereas before, a lot of people didn't even know how to do it. I listened to my wife talking to her friends, and she's explaining how to download a chat room or how to do this, and then her friends are telling their friends how to do it. So there's millions and millions, probably billions, who are using the system's internet far better than they ever have before. So how do you utilise what's been happening? And you're in a field where that can be taken advantage of.
Yeah, and I suppose the next question is, how do you monetize that to actually make a living out of it?
Well, I've seen a number of people that I know have put books online. So they've made a recipe, and they've said this is a at-home baking book or a COVID-19 baking book or cookbook. And for 100 Rand, you download the whole book, and you can come back and questions and answers to the designers, and I've actually had to fill in some answers to some of the questions for friends who did that. So it wasn't easy, and I think it sounds silly, but once she launched it, I think she had 24 downloads in the first day at 100 Rand each.
Yeah.
The first day.
Yeah. Look, I've been told you as well that I've been doing sourdough bread making and loving it. And I've got 2 starters and spent a lot of time on YouTube. I've studied it, endlessly on how to make these breads. I'm going to be calling on your advice. But I think, it's just how we can take these opportunities and take them forward. And especially, I'm looking at a lot of photographers now, and they really are down in the depths and saying, what is our opportunity? How do we go forward from here? What do we do? And I think you're right in that there's definitely we can share our knowledge and things. But do you think the businesses will still be marketing in the same way going forward, be using, or will it be a completely different style of marketing?
Again, I can tell you from my own marketing teams and the various businesses I'm a director for or mentor for, every one of them has talked about changed marketing. So, it's been a subject of what they're going to do. It's going to be more for application marketing. The restaurants is going to be more marketing around the delivery systems than there are about the restaurants themselves. The design of new concepts to put through those systems as well is going to increase dramatically. In fact, Colcaccio Group, through their dark kitchens, have got 5 more brands to come out. They've got two brands to come out at the moment. Lockdown's over. So, and one of those is developed completely during lockdown because of the time available in lockdown. So they've taken advantage of that. And that brings instant money, and it doesn't come with the restaurant seats and being close together. So that's, in those industries, the marketing is not going to be the same. In the industrial industry, which is the larger businesses that I'm involved in, the marketing of their services is going to be much higher because they had an ability to help in these circumstances, but on reflection, they didn't have the marketing in place to tell people where to go and what they do to be able to offer help. So they've realised where it's falling down. And I think a lot of people who have had to do quick marketing for new concepts have realised that their existing marketing didn't work. So there'll be a lot of rethinking along those lines.
Darryl, just with the, as freelancers and things, and I've had this great belief that before we were very isolated. A photographer works in isolation. He brings a team together and then often stays in his studio. He doesn't sort of give his secrets and ideas of how he does things. We tend to work very much in isolation, and I'm a great believer in collaboration and working together. And I built a business, a photographic business, where we had 6-7 photographers, and I learned a huge amount working with people. Do you think business is going to collaborate a lot more going forward, or do you think it'll become more isolated after this?
Collaboration is coming out of the lockdown. It's happening now. We have had to collaborate more than ever before with other businesses because they had services that we could not use or had been locked down by others. We produced alcohol for hand sanitizer with the University of Stellenbosch, and so we had to get hold of them because they had the equipment. We had the dried bread we were using for making beer out of as a waste project. And we wouldn't utilise that over lockdown, so we had to get that together very quickly, and then we had to get some way of distributing that out once it was made. So we had to get somebody else in who was going into the townships to be able to do that. And then even at the larger end of the business, with one of the big baking groups, had to do a favour and get one of their trucks to pick up some waste and deliver it to the people who are using waste. Because even though it's waste, if you supply waste into a project to utilise waste, you can't take it away because the waste is it's a use of technology and enzymes and insects and everything to convert it. You can't let them die off either. So we've had to use and pull together and and get lots of people to help out with that. So the collaboration is happening, and collaboration under risk management is protection. So lots of big companies who sit down and evaluate risk through each part of their organization are now going to look at it and say, what happens if this happens again? Yeah. If it was bakeries in my field, if it was bakeries, can Sasco say, well, if I get COVID-19 through one of my bakeries, does Albany have spare capacity to bake my bread? And we're talking opposition. And we know under COVID that's opened up. There's no anti-competitive clauses are closed at the moment. You won't get accused of anything. You would have to work with them to do it. So those collaborations with opposition are going to be written up as policy in businesses.
Yeah, well, it's great to know, and that's why I set up the group Let's Collaborate, because I think there's so many of us in small businesses and freelancers that are just going on our own way, and if we can start pulling together, I think we can make a big difference and change a lot of the way things are going forward. I think, Darryl, just in closing, and it's really been great to have you on, and I look forward to getting some good sourdough recipes off you, and also waiting for South Africa to meet you guys again. But is there just a last note that you would like to pass out to us, and just a positive note saying, what it is that you think we could do or what's going to happen, just something to let the guys out there know that it's not the end and that there's a positive side?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a way I look at business when I'm setting up business. I've set up 2 new companies in the last couple of weeks while COVID-19's been happening. So that's positive. And how do you think about that? So I'll give you something to think about. In your industry, the unfortunate thing is a lot of business going to die in your industry, like everybody else's.
Yes.
Now, even though the industry is going to be down on their spend, the amount of businesses that aren't there anymore is going to be such that the remaining businesses now have a bigger opportunity with that spend. So, and I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I started a business once in a field where that market was decreasing that I was selling into. But it was a 18 million or so market that I wanted to sell into. And I was aiming to try to take 5 million in that market. When that market was going down, people said, why are you going to that market that's going down? Well, if I want 5 million of that market, I don't care whether 80 million is going to 75 or 70. I can still get my 5 million at the bottom. So even though your market may decrease in a field, doesn't mean you still can't attack into that same field, but you've got to look at how the world's changing and adapt it to what's necessary now. Adapt it, that whatever you're doing for your clients, how do you do that for applications that fit everybody else who could use it globally? Now, how do you do that? Could you as a group have a business in Mauritius that you sell all your photography and that licenses it out so it changes where your laws apply? Now, getting together as a group, there's opportunities if you got together as a group. And the first one is under this circumstance of COVID-19, it's the best one to point out that if you do it, first rule is don't be greedy. If you get a project that you could have, if you argue over and don't get it, you've got nothing. So if you're not greedy and you settle what you're going to do to start up with, who does what and what percentage you get, just take it. Don't worry about 1 or 2%. Take what you can and move it on. Don't be greedy and let it get to its fruition. Now, an example, a recipe book I've been writing for years.
Yes, I know all about it, and hopefully we'll get it done today.
Okay, so I've got that right now on some pages that I just photographed everything I've done. I mean, I could send that to you now and say, well, I'll give that up as just having a percentage of whatever that is. There's a storyline in there, because it's actually a book as a story with recipes about, brownie points and making the wife, that you play golf and all that sort of stuff. If you've got editors out there, you could edit a nice storybook in there. But you could put the recipes in. So you need an editor, you need photography, You need people who know how to put these into online books, digital people. You can collect all of that in a group and say, well, let's take this as a group. You've got a piece of it, and that group will get X percentage of the total. And you've got nothing. If you're not busy, run with it. Who online can do that now? If my friend can put together a book in 2 weeks by herself with a bit of IT knowledge, surely a group could do the same thing. So yeah, I could, I'm quite happy I could give you that and say, well, run with it, see what you can do. Does it work? And and why I do business, Malcolm, and the partners I've had, and I'm very generous. I'm not. I've never been worried about money as such. I want to see an end result, and if you get a piece out of it, it's been a bit of effort. You've got a piece, but it's an annuity piece. Yeah. For this one, God, well, you get it done. Now you've got photos. Well, you filmed it. Let's get it to top billing. Yeah. We'll get them to see if they want to do a skit. Do the airlines want it on their plane? And you can do it. And the difference between entrepreneurs and normal people is we can be bothered to do it.
Yeah.
The good idea is not worth anything if you can't be bothered doing it. And I can be bothered to do it. And if you've got a team that can be bothered to do it, you can do it. You can get it on TV. Get on it. It's just what you do up there. So really, go for it in no sense.
Well, yeah, Darryl, thanks for that. I mean, that's absolutely true and absolutely great. And I'm going to put that straight away onto our Let's Collaborate group, and I'm going to get a group together, and I'm going to hold you to that. And I just want to say thank you so much. I mean, the advice that you've given us is invaluable, and we wish you all the best, and thanks so much for coming on. And hopefully I will be able to chat to you again and get some more questions. And I just want to ask all the folks out there, please, if you have any questions, please send them through, and I'll see if, when Darryl's got some time, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer them. So write them into the comments or DM me directly, and I'll pass them on, and I'll try and answer, or Darryl will answer them. And Darryl, once again, thanks so much for the interview.
No, you're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Okay. Cheerio.
Okay. Cheers.